Good evening, dear friends and co-worker. This is Efrat. Thank you for being here. In the division between Helen and me regarding the introduction to the meditation, Helen brings a broad picture of the Middle East with various references, historical, religious, national, geopolitical, and so on. I share events from the reality and describe the atmosphere and central issues taking place in Israel, along with different perspectives on them. This evening, I would like to present something that on the one hand is very personal, and on the other, shared by tens of thousands of Israelis. It is easy to relate to reality and events through black and white perspective, good or bad, right or wrong, etc. But reality and life are never like that. They're always complex. And complexity is harder to grasp and to hold. The complexity I'm referring to here, and one that I experienced deeply and painfully, is a complex identity of being a woman, Jewish, Israeli, Zionist, not the Zionism that is known today, but one that is based on the values of Israel's Declaration of Independence from 1947. This complex identity strongly opposes the current political and military conduct of the State of Israel. So internally, there is a struggle for what kind of country we will be. And externally, I am perceived as part of the State of Israel and as a partner to the action of the government, a government I oppose and fight against. And it is complexity that I want to bring here, to release the assumption that when we say the State of Israel, we paint all its citizens with the same brush. One of the most urgent and central issues expressing the internal struggle is the response to the destruction and immense suffering that Israel is causing in Gaza. At last, the question is being raised: why do so many Israelis deny the horrifying reality in Gaza, while others, a small minority, cry out against this action alongside the outcrying for the release of hostages and the end of the war? The answer to this question is really complex, and I may address it in another time. Meanwhile, in the eyes of many countries and individuals, every Israeli is seen as a complete and agreement with what is happening. That's also why I regularly shared initiative and organization that represent the possibility of a different kind of Israel. As an example, I bring up the initiative called the Women's Cabinet. The Women's Cabinet acts out of parental, human, and civic responsibility to create a safe future through ending the war, bringing back hostages, and rehabilitating soldiers and all citizens. Out of this sense of responsibility, The Women's Cabinet has initiated a discussion series called Between a Black Flag and the Red Lines, aimed to addressing the complex dilemmas faced by parents and families members in conversation with their children serving in the military in light of the ongoing war and its heavy toll. This is all for today. Thank you.
Hello, friends. I'm a bit overwhelmed by what you brought, Efrat. Thank you, and I join you in that about being an Israeli nowadays. Okay, and I will try to bring something today about that we've been trying for those 3 weeks to put some light on the conflict, the Israel-Palestine conflict. And we showed maps, and we mentioned some general historical evolution of this conflict in the context of the area. And today I want to share some thoughts about the United Nations vote to recognize Palestinian statehood. This vote is a big, huge tribute for the Palestinian people, and the world is with them. And in this context, I would like to raise the idea of nation state, the model of the nation state, which is a European construct where each country has clear borders and people who share language, culture, history, and often ethnicity, like we have in mind, for instance, France, Germany, Italy, and others. A system in which there's government power, cultural identity, and a kind of unity and self-rule. It's an idea adopted in a big part of the world. States, countries, nations. My focus today is on the imposition of this European model of nation state projected onto the Middle East, which was and still is mostly made up of Arab and Islamic cultures. A world so different from Western societies and often misunderstood by the West. This system has been imposed also in other continents that were colonized by Europe over the last centuries. So we know about a century ago that in our region was divided into countries by those Western powers without considering the local ethnic and cultural differences. Most people lived in tribes and groups, but new nations like Jordan, Iraq, Syria suddenly popped up. And this caused divisions and conflicts that are still existing today. So I'm just bringing our attention to this world model that I am trying to figure out and realize for myself, this nation state model. So now the world recognizes Palestine via the United Nations. It would upgrade Palestine to a formal state in the eyes of the international law. And mind you, it is the same process that legitimized the creation of the State of Israel in 1948, and other states in the region. Sounds familiar, yeah? Only going back 80 plus years in time and still valid today, although the circumstances are quite different. So what I'm coming to is that this makes me think about the old world system that we live in and that rules us for eons. Are we beginning to be aware of this old order? Are we starting to notice its limits and question it? While feeling that things are changing, even if we can't see exactly how yet. So those were the thoughts I had in this context of the recognition of Palestine as a state by the United Nations. So something to ponder about, maybe. Over to you, Uta.
Thank you, both of you. And yeah, you're bringing weighty questions here. It seems that we have reached as a group that meets every Monday kind of a ripeness to go back now to root causes and reflect together on them, and by this hopefully throw some light into these causes so they can start to unravel, to transmute. And yeah, thank you for bringing our attention to this vote that will be in a few weeks' time in New York, in the headquarters of the UN. And here again, there will be a vote about the Palestinian people, and they will not have visa to attend at all. Their fate is being voted on, and they are not even invited. So this is just to strengthen, Helen, your point. Okay, so let us do our work, holding this complexity in our hearts and in our minds. So we start by breathing and settling into our body. Into a state of equilibrium. In a silence. Being aware of our heart between the shoulder blades. Filling it with harmlessness. And collect our mental forces now into the center of the head. And from here, let our mind expand into a planetary perspective. Standing as soul-guided servers in the will to peace. Let us visualize ourselves being together on a mountaintop. in a sphere of pure light. Now linking with each other with intent, heart to heart, mind to mind, and soul to soul. And realizing that we are energetically linked with all soul-guided servers around the planet as part of the Ajna center of the planet. And here we stand, calm, at the midway point between the higher worlds and the manifest world below. Taking a moment for a large overview, observing humanity, the state of the human family at the moment. And within this, in this context, focusing now on the Middle East region. On these different nation states that have been created 100 years ago. And these ethnic and religious groups within these states, the tension, the complexity of the situation, and seeing how this is all related to the wider picture, the whole of humanity, like an intense planetary vortex that has its effect on the etheric body of humanity, and vice versa. Things are playing out in the Middle East that pertain to the whole of humanity. Old karmic stuff. And as we just witness this situation, this dynamic situation, let us open also to our ashramic co-workers, being aware of their protective presence. And expanding into their much wider perspective. Let's take a moment to try to grasp something of this wider perspective of what's really going on in the Middle East, what's the higher plan for this region. And let us align with it, even if we may not yet mentally define it, understand it, but realizing that it exists, sensing it intuitively and instinctually, and knowing that it will be manifested. And holding this fact that destruction, outer destruction, violence is still part of this process of the working out, of trying to work out this plan. And at the same time, know and affirm that the time will come when the needed destruction of old outworn forms will be happening not by outer force, not by violence, but by the greatly strengthened life within those forms. By the waking up of the inner spirit, of the soul light in the people, which will burst these outworn identifications from within, liberation from within. Let's hold and affirm the fact that the day of soul consciousness will come. And we stand ready to do our job as soul conscious servers, to be a channel for it. And let us invoke the Lords of Liberation in this work of evoking the soul light in humanity and forging together a path for the saving force on our planet. Let the Lords of Liberation issue forth. Let them bring succor to humanity. Let the rider from the secret place come forth, and coming save. Come forth, Almighty One. Let the souls of men awaken to the light, and may we stand with massed intent. Let the fiat of the Lord go forth, the end of woe has come. Come forth, Almighty One. The hour of service of the saving force has now arrived. Let it be spread abroad, Almighty One. Let light and love and power and death fulfill the purpose of the coming one. The will to save is here. The love to carry forth the work is widely spread abroad. The active aid of all who know the truth is also here. Come forth, Almighty One, and blend these three. Construct a great defending wall. The rule of evil now must end. See and sense a shaft of pure golden white light, broad and brilliant, flood West Asia. See a huge column of light pouring through all planes. Hold this column steady in the will to peace. See soul light flooding the mental plane of the Middle East. See soul light pouring into the astral plane of the Middle East. See soul light pouring into the etheric physical plane of the Middle East, penetrating into the earth, pouring into the old imprisoning patterns. And see this saving force spreading to the entire Middle East, into each nation and each ethnic and religious group. For all our relations, for the highest good of all. We anchor the saving force in the Middle East through the sound of the great invocation in Hebrew and in Arabic, and we see it spread out all over the planet.
מנקודת האור אשר בדעת אל, יזרום האור אל דעת האדם, ירד האור על פני האדמה. מנקודת האהבה אשר בלב האל, תזרום האהבה אל לבבות אנוש. ישוב מורה עולם על פני האדמה. מהמרכז שבו נודע רצון האל, תנחה תכלית את רצונות אדם, תכלית אותה מורי האנושות יודעים ומשרתים. מהמרכז, אשר נקרא המין האנושי, תוגשם תוכנית האהבה והאור, ויחתם הפתח אל הרע. יהי רצון, ויחדשו אור אהבה ועוצמה, את התוכנית על פני האדמה. אמן.
Ellen may have difficulties with the internet, so let us just hold a silence for the great invocation in Arabic. Allahu Amin.